Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. Our title sponsor for the Builders of Authority podcast is Go High Level, also known as GHL. GHL is the first ever all-in-one platform that will give you the tools, support, and resources you need to succeed and crush your marketing goals. Personally, I have used this software since 2020, and it's been a game changer for my business and for our clients. If you are looking to level up your CRM and marketing game, then this is the platform to use. You can find a link for a free 30-day trial with tons of Builders of Authority bonuses in the show notes. So take advantage of this opportunity to adopt GHL's amazing software and grow your business. Quick reminder before we hop into today's episode that we are continuing to grow our Builders of Authority community online. Builders of Authority is committed to you helping you become the authority in your industry with personal branding. We have our free Facebook group that you can join by typing in Builders of Authority into the search bar or click the link in the description. We also have our mastermind, which includes a private Facebook group, live weekly trainings and sessions, access to our personal branding course, and more. Reach out to us on social media and let's have a conversation. Today, we are coming to you live from Half Coast Studios here in St. Louis. I'm joined by someone that I met a few months ago after he heard me on a podcast. So that's a great plug for personal branding and building authority. Shortly after we hop on a call and he expressed interest in our mastermind, he joined a few days later and is going to be attending our Builders of Authority live event next week. My guest today is Joe Rohne. He has an incredible track record of running many companies, including being a real estate broker, vacation rental property manager, and he's even built his own community, helping others grow their vacation rental business. Joe, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you, man. I know we just got connected recently, but tell the audience a little bit about yourself, kind of where you got started and where you're at today.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My wife and I actually, back in 2007, did the unthinkable. We cashed out any of our retirement, took every dime of equity of our home, and we bought a daycare. And we actually bought a preschool in St. Charles, and we've been operating that for 17 years now. But that was my wife's business, and I help her with it, but she's 99.9% of it. We have 80 kids and 15 teachers, and it's amazing. But in 2013, after spending 15 years in corporate retail, I decided to jump the ship and make my journey into entrepreneurship and started a lawn and landscape business, which was perfect because at that point, my kids were younger. I could coach their teams. I could make all their sporting events because I made my own schedule at that time. Yes, I worked really hard, cutting 50, 60, 80 lawns a week, whatever it was. But it let me have that time with my family. But I knew that wasn't a long-term thing for me, so I knew real estate was something I really, really wanted to get into. So 2019, I started taking the classes to get my license, jumped into real estate early 2020. Obviously, COVID hit, and it was a pretty slow season, slow first year. But I kept my lawn and garden business for a few years, part-time, and kind of did a little bit of both until we jumped into the short-term rental game a couple years ago, and that has been life-changing.
Yeah.
We bought our first beach house in 2022. We own 2, and we now manage 8 others, and started coaching and helping other people jump into this business and realize that the sky is the limit out there. There is so much opportunity.
That's incredible. I know I told my wife that I was having you on the podcast, and it's one thing that we want to get into. I have no idea where to even start. So let's start there. How did you get into vacation rentals, and talk to us about that?
Anything we do, we've always wanted to become the expert, right? When I was mowing lawns, I read 40 to 50 Audible books every single year, and that was everything from Grant Cardone to, Be Obsessed or Be Average or, dystopian novels. It didn't matter what it was. I just wanted to gain more knowledge of everything. And I really started to get into real estate, and I wanted to get into real estate investing after everything I learned and read. And, there's lots of different ways in real estate investing, from midterm rentals, long-term rentals, multi-units. Yeah. I really enjoy the hospitality side of it, and I wanted to get into short-term. I joined a mastermind group back in 22, right as I was buying that first short-term rental, because I wanted to learn from the best. And so I surrounded myself around the best in the industry, made a couple good purchasing decisions, and man, it is pretty awesome. real estate investing is a great thing.
That's incredible. I know a lot of people want to get into it, right? So I know some people that just have a couple properties all the way up to, I know, real estate investors with a ton. So what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned just from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from going from like having your wife run the daycare to you with the lawn and landscape to now, the real estate side of things? Like, what is translating to all of those industries?
I really think it's just the daily grind and the hustle. I mean, there is no, we don't work no 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's 24/7, 365. And yes, we take our time off. Actually, when I'm done with this podcast today, we're going to hit the road and go on a weekend float trip and get out in the
Incredible.
middle of the woods and
Yeah.
and kind of, unplug for a few days. And I think that's really important to do that and recharge.
Yeah.
But I think it's an everyday, I love people like Mike Kiko who can say he's not as busy, he's able to relax. I'm not that kind of personality. I've got to be doing something all the
Same.
time, and I put way too much on my plate
Mhm.
than I could even imagine to handle.
Mhm.
And I do use Grant Cardone's 10X planner and plan out every single hour of my day, and that's the only way I can get it done.
Yeah. Well, I think, everything that I've learned about entrepreneurship is that you're going to learn all this different stuff, right? And what one person says, it might not work for you.
Yep.
There could be pieces that you can take and implement, but I'm the same way. I've tried to, as I've exited the marketing agency, I've tried to do less,
Mhm.
and I just can't sit still. And it's not even just that I can't sit still, but I almost feel as if I'm not doing anything. And when I'm not like firing on all cylinders, it just doesn't feel good. But I do prioritize being able to take the time off, or if like I'm leaving today at 2:30 to go home and babysit for a little bit while my wife goes and does something, right? So I think that's the most important thing, is when we're in the work activities, we're there,
Yes.
right? And then, but we also know like when there's time to be taken off as well.
Yep. Yep. And I will say that's one of the hardest things on the vacation rental property management
Hmm.
is there is no off time. We have
Mhm.
guests checking in at 11 p.m. sometimes that, didn't get the door code right
Yeah.
and they're messaging you, or sometimes it's a 9 o'clock in the morning text that I got this morning that a light bulb was burnt out in a bedroom and I get my handyman over there to take care of it. So
Yep.
that's one of the differences in, when we talk about real estate investing in long term and short term. Short term is not a passive
Yeah.
real estate investing.
Mhm.
But the cash flow is a
Mhm.
lot better.
Yeah.
You can 2x, 3x, and even 5x, what your normal rents would be on a long-term rental
Sure.
by doing it as a short-term rental.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I love it.
So someone that is looking to start with a couple properties, maybe just one, like, and if I'm looking at Florida, right? Well, like for me, I almost get like anxiety of being like, oh my gosh, I have this property down there and I'm not going to be there. Like, how do you navigate that?
It's so important just to find boots on the ground, right?
Yeah.
I have 2 different handymen that I have in Panama City Beach where my
Okay.
properties are. I have another handyman in my Branson properties that I manage in there.
Yeah.
I have 4 different cleaning companies between the 2 markets because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, right? If I have
Yeah.
to fire a cleaning company because they, didn't meet my standards, I don't want to have to fire them for every property. So I have
Yeah.
multiple different cleaning companies that I network with. And then, just having, those contacts, the HVAC company and the electrician and the plumber, because things happen,
Mhm.
and it always happens during the busy season,
Yeah.
when everything's chaotic and hectic.
Always.
But if you have the right people in place, I mean, the way I look at it is this: if you're a property manager, you're not an electrician, you're not a plumber.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you live in St. Louis or in, Japan.
Yeah.
You can manage a property anywhere in the world because you're still going to pick up the phone and call the
Whoever.
electrician, the
Yeah.
plumber, the HVAC guy to go fix it. You're not going down to that property.
Yeah.
Someone calls you at 2 in the morning to, because their toilet's clogged. You're not getting out of bed to go to their house to unclog the toilet. You're calling a plumbing company that has a 24-hour service line to go down there and take care of it, right? So you don't have to be in the market
Yeah.
to manage it. We do
Yeah.
have exterior cameras, and I do have a maintenance guy that does inspections once a month on every property, changes air filters, does a little bit of maintenance. But yeah, if you have the right people in place,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
That's no different. I think a lot of than a lot of businesses, I guess, that you just kind of assume the worst, right? Like I bought this property and I did all that stuff. So, talk to me a little bit about how you're buying those properties. So, are you like, hey, we want places here, or we found a good deal, and are you paying like how you would for a traditional house, or what does that look like?
So typically, investment properties are going to be a 20% down payment. You can do a conventional loan, you can do a commercial loan, you can do a DSCR loan, which is a debt service coverage ratio loan. The great thing about a DSCR is you can put it in the business's LLC and it doesn't affect your personal DTI.
Okay.
However, it does have a little bit, higher terms. You might have a half point higher interest rate, might have to pay an extra point or two, so there's pros and cons to each one. But markets, when I look for markets, there's a great website called STR Insights. My friend Kenny Bedwell owns the business, and he is the data guru, right? And you can go to his website, and it is a paid subscription, and it will tell you what kind of house you want to buy. It'll tell you where to buy it and where you're going to get the best return on your investment. Not even just to the actual property level, but down to the bedroom count, right?
Wow.
In this market, the 4-bedroom is going to net you X amount of dollars. The 3-bedroom is going to be a little more saturated, and it's not going to make you as much money. So his data is just on point to really expand and figure out where you want to buy. And we're looking to purchase our 3rd one this fall. And we're not going to be in Florida on this one. We're looking at other markets, but there's 13,000 vacation rental markets in the United States, right?
Yep.
So, Panama City Beach, Florida, even though I'm a real estate agent there and I help investors in Panama City Beach find great properties there, there's also other markets, and we're looking to expand our portfolio.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you have both sides of the equation covered there then.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've not transitioned, but added on the coaching and the mastermind part to vacation rentals.
Yes.
How did that kind of start, and where is that at?
So I went to STR Wealth Conference last year in 2023 in February, and my coach at the time, who I was part of his program, was Bill Faith, and he's one of the top gurus in the industry. And I learned so much from him and his team. And and then they have a mastermind, and their mastermind is I'm in growing stages of building a business, and it was a really expensive mastermind to go to the next level, and I couldn't quite afford what I wanted to do at that time, because we're building a new business. So I met a lot of people at that wealth conference and through the 13-week class that I did, his accelerator program. And I just reached out to them and said, hey, I'm going to start my own mastermind. Would you guys be interested in, would you want to join it? And I did it for free. It wasn't a paid thing. It was like, let's hop on a biweekly call and help each other. Right. And I knew I wanted to get into property management and co-hosting. Most of these other owners that are part of my group they owned anywhere from 1 to 3 properties, and they wanted to do the same. They wanted to start managing for other people. So we said, let's just hop on a call every other week and help each other. And in June of last year is actually when we started it. So we're right at 1 year. At that time, I had 2 co-host properties that I was managing under my belt. Nobody else in my group had any. And a year later, we're sitting at 38 properties between the 8 of us that we manage.
Wow.
A couple, one person, Austin, he went from 0 to 8, was able to quit his W-2 job, in 6-7 months of doing this business. Like it's pretty phenomenal to see the growth and just to watch the people on this team. We were on a group text message. They were texting today about a guest and, who should we accept this guest or not that guest? And it's just been a great community.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, very kind of similar-ish, completely different industries, obviously, but how I built Builders of Authority is I started just doing it, for free with people and doing it like out of enjoyment. And then people were like, can I get more information? Can I get more time with you? Can I get more of that stuff? And I obviously ended up launching it, but I looked back to all the different areas where I grew a lot when I was in those masterminds and getting that stuff. And you mentioned that success story of somebody literally being able to quit their job and do this full time. He would have never been able to do that. And the time he did it without that community that you've built and without all the information, because people think investing in themselves, in education, in conferences and events and coaches are expensive. One, it's investment, but 2, it's actually more expensive to not do it. Where people fail is they buy it and then they don't implement what they've learned, and they complain that it doesn't work.
Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see. And that's why I didn't want to jump into that mastermind in the beginning. I was like, not sure. And then, after I did my own, then I had people start reaching out, and they started asking me, hey, can you coach me? Can you teach me some stuff? And I took my first person this year in January, and I didn't have a full system in place, but she's like, hey, I need help. I want to get into this co-hosting. I said, well, let's do 4 1-hour Zoom sessions, charge $500, something like that, just to get my feet wet on charging someone for something like this.
Yeah.
Did it. I mean, I think she's at 7 properties now in less than 6 months and, crushing it. And then when I was at the conference, so that same conference that I met all those people the year before, it's a yearly conference. I was there this year, and 2,500 people at the conference. If you know who Damon John from is, he was our guest speaker. Right before he came on, the two main people that were running the conference, they were talking about the same thing, why you should join a mastermind. And of course, they were talking about why you should join theirs or the other person's. They each have different ones, and another person has a mastermind. And it was funny because Bill, in the middle of all that, he said, "All right, Joe Rohne, stand up." And so I stood up. He's like, "Join somebody's or do what Joe said." And he said, "F you, Bill. I'm going to do my own thing." And he's like, "But you know what? He did it, right?"
Yeah.
And it's so important to have that community, no matter what business you're in. I say this all the time. You can't go home and talk to your brother, your sister, your neighbors, or your friends that you go drinking with on a weekend about your business, right?
Yeah.
I love every single one of those people, but they're not going to help me grow my business, right?
100%.
But the people that are in my industry, that are doing it, that are crushing it, that are at that next level,
Yeah.
that's how I'm going to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
So important. And that's the thing is most people don't understand that, right? They think that they are getting the information or the advice from those people that they should go implement. But in reality, it literally doesn't make sense, right? Like
Yep.
you're going to them with actual problems, actual situations that they likely, as you mentioned, you love them, they love you, but they're looking at it from a completely different point of view.
Yep.
And so when you're actually in it, in the nitty gritty with the people that have done it, are where you want to be, and can help you avoid the different, don't step in this hole, go that route. Again, it's not even just about the expense, which is actually an investment. It's about condensing time to get further quicker.
Yep. Yep. And I spent, that first program I did, I spent $7,500 for a 12-week program. I made that back tenfold in less than a year because of that program, right? I mean, I wouldn't be where I am in this property management business right now, growing a $150,000 a year business in a little over a year from zero, right? I mean, last year in January I had zero, and now it's going to gross over $150,000. I'm sorry, it's going to net over $150,000 this year. In revenue for my family.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have that business a year and a half ago, and I would have never been able to do that without those people.
That's just incredible. So if someone's looking to like just get started for their first rental property, what's some advice? I know you mentioned the website as well, but like what's some advice if they have like, hey, I have this amount of money, this is kind of what I can do. Where do I get started?
Honestly, they can reach out to me and I can help them get a start. There are so many books and so many podcasts out there. I flooded to everything I could. I read every book. I listened to about 8 podcasts every single week in the industry. But if you want to get into real estate investing, you got to decide which one it is. Do you want to get into buy and hold long-term rentals? Do you want to do flips? Do you want to get into multi-units? There's so many different ways. I like short-term rentals and I like the cash flow from that. But I also like that I can go to my Panama City Beach house in September for free for a week. And even though that house may not make as much money as, a house that I buy in, say Kentucky or, Colorado or whatever it may be, because insurance costs are a little higher in Florida.
Yeah.
I also can use that for my family during that off season, and go there during the slow times. So, so you really just got to figure out what your goals are. What is it you want to do in real estate investing? One of the great things in short-term rentals, though, is the short-term rental loophole in the tax code. And that is the fact that if you are actually self-managing and you materially participate in your short-term rental, you can actually offset those losses from your personal W-2. So at the end of the year, I mean, I know of people in our industry that have paid $100,000 to $200,000 less in taxes because of those losses that they were able to take from accelerated depreciation and different things. Talk to your CPA about this stuff, but I'm telling you, there are some amazing, amazing laws out there that benefit short-term rental investors.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I know a lot of people are like, hey, if I have multiple, do I need to have, and obviously you mentioned the boot on the grounds networking and things like that, but do I need to have a property manager? Like, what does that whole process look like?
So, if you want to do it for cash flow, self-manage. If you want to do it for, appreciating assets, maybe break even, hire a property manager, or you can do what I do is called co-hosting. So the difference between what I do and a traditional property manager of a, Vacasa or, the big companies in the world, they're great. But 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have that technology. So if you owned a rental in Florida and you lived in St. Louis, you had to hire a local property manager to maintain it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can do everything on my phone from right here now, right?
Mm.
So I can manage each property in roughly an hour to an hour and a half a week max,
Wow.
right? So it's not like I'm putting in 40 hours to manage these properties,
Yeah.
but I do have to be available. So like, a lot of the people that I manage for, they're in professions that they have a job that's very demanding and they can't self-manage, right?
Sure.
So in the co-hosting space, I actually put the listing in the owner's name,
Okay.
and the money all goes to the owner. And then at the end of the month, they write me a check for my services, right?
Okay.
Where in a property manager, the listing goes in the property management company's name. They collect all the money, hand all the taxes, do all that stuff for you, and then they write you a check at the end of the month and whatever's left over, right? So
Got
it's a
it.
little bit different format.
Mm.
The co-hosting is a very big space that's growing nationwide because there's so many big property management companies that are failing.
Yeah.
When you have 1,000 properties, how are they managing yours effectively?
Yeah.
Right? I manage 8 properties and I only manage luxury properties, right? But of the 8 properties I have that I'm managing and the 2 that I own, I can manage each one that it's myself. I'm running Facebook ads for it. I'm doing TikToks. I'm doing Instagram
Mm.
reels. I'm doing email marketing. You use Go High Level.
Mm.
I have a Go High Level a website. It's through Market My STR. It's the same platform. It's a Go High Level platform. And I use that to market for all of my properties, right?
Yeah.
I got the CRM. I pull all the emails. I have a 200-day funnel email marketing campaign. I mean, I keep it rebooked,
Yeah.
So an example is I took over a property last year for a owner. The local property manager grossed him $31,000 the prior year. We're on pace for $90,000 this year for
Mm.
him. So he's going to triple his income because I'm marketing it, managing it, and treating it as my own instead of just a number.
Yeah. So you're doing literally everything.
Yep.
That's incredible.
So we do everything A to Z. For our clients. My wife is a big help in my business. I do have a virtual assistant who is life changing.
Mm-hmm.
That can help some of those back end things. And I just hired her a month ago, and I should have done it a year ago.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're wondering if you should hire a virtual assistant, do it.
Yeah.
Do it yesterday. Don't wait another day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I didn't even know the co-hosting thing.
Yep.
Right. So that's even more intriguing, right? I think, so many people are like myself, right? If it's something new, and I've been notorious for the shiny object syndrome of like, oh, there's this other business potential opportunity. So you're thinking about all these things. And I think a lot of people suffer from that. But I think a lot of people look at short-term rentals or any real estate investing like, oh my gosh, I have to go fix the toilet. I have to go, do all of those things. And you don't.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that's one of the most intriguing things about it. You mentioned, I want to segue here for a second. You mentioned kind of having this service in the co-hosting space where you're running ads, you're taking care of the marketing, you're doing all those things. So what are some creative things that you've done to like build brands for you, but then also these individual properties?
So each property does have its own Facebook page. So I run
Okay.
those Facebook ads for that particular
Awesome.
property.
Yep.
So I manage the Facebook page. I do not post any organic content on any of those properties. The initial organic content of saying, hey, this is the property, these are the pictures, this is the link. But to be able to run effective Facebook ads, and if you've ever run Facebook ads, I mean, we use retargeting, we use lookalike, we use all the different things that make them effective,
Mhm.
right? If you just boost a post, you're not boosting it to your audience. You're
Yeah.
just boosting it, right? You're boosting it to get good ratings. And if you're trying to grow your brand in, just to get more audience or more people to see your stuff,
Mhm.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But when I'm trying to get someone to book my property on a weekend that's not booked, I need to go towards that audience that's actually that demographic for that property of the people that are going to book it,
Mhm.
right? So if I just do a blanket boost post, 90% of the people that see my boosted post aren't going to see it. So
Exactly.
targeted Facebook ads are really crucial.
Yeah.
I've been doing them since I was a district manager for Sears in my corporate retail days. We did Facebook ads, 12, 13, 14 years ago.
Mhm.
They've come a long way since then. We didn't have lookalikes when they first started doing
Yeah.
Facebook ads. We didn't have, you couldn't drop in your CSV file of all of your, people that have stayed at your properties or been to your store, so it's come a long way to be able to really use Facebook ads the right way.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. So it's like not only have you done it for your own stuff, but like you have this full service aspect where it's like, oh my gosh, I can have this property and I can put it to use and I don't have to worry about all the headaches.
Yep. And the biggest thing that we do, and this is where a lot of people fail in the short-term rental industry, back in 21 after COVID, You could put a cardboard box on Airbnb and probably rent it out, right? Because there was such a craze to get away from the hotels
Mm-hmm.
to get into Airbnb. So we started seeing more suburban ones and urban ones. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally just a vacation rental one.
Yeah.
But your design is also so crucial, right?
Mm.
So, you used to be able to just go on Marketplace, buy some cheap furniture, put it in your house and make it look good. My wife and I took over a property this year that it's a luxury property, beachfront, 5 bedroom, 5.5 bath, in-ground pool, amazing property, right? It's a
Mm.
property that should do $250,000 in revenue or more, and it was only doing about 160. But the design was really kind of weak. So we worked with the owners. We came up with a budget for them. They spent about $20,000 for us to go in, and my wife did the full redesign.
Mm.
We went in and wallpapered accent walls. We put all new bedding, all new furniture. We made this property look awesome. And we went from getting $900 a night for the previous property manager, and we're averaging about $1,400 to $1,600 a night for that property right now.
Wow.
And we are fully booked for the summer.
Wow.
So, significantly increased, same property, same everything, except we put a really awesome design in it.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, talk to me a little bit about pricing, right? So you got a rental, and you're like,
Yep.
hey, how do I price this? I'm assuming, obviously, for the co-hosting stuff, you're assisting with that, but somebody that's out there that maybe is doing it on their own, or they're looking to get in, and they're like, well, I don't even know where I would price this.
Yep. So there's amazing pricing software. I use Price Labs, which is a dynamic pricing tool. There's Wheelhouse. There's a couple other ones, and it's great because you can put you know things on your pricing like my weekends are a minimum of 3 days, right?
Mm.
Instead of only a 2 day, right? I
Yeah.
don't want people to just book Friday and Saturday and have the house empty for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we have calendar rule sets. It also takes into account the dynamic pricing, kind of like airlines, right? If you look
Yeah.
at an airline, every day the price changes, right? If
Yeah.
you're going to book airline tickets,
Yeah.
so do my houses,
Mm.
because it looks at the demand, it looks at my competition, it looks at the overall demand, and it adjusts my prices. I set a base rate, and I set a low and a high, but it adjusts it based on demand. A couple weeks ago we had the Gulf Coast Jam in Panama City Beach, and
Mm.
it was Morgan Wallen and Cody Johnson and Jelly Roll, and it was a huge 4 day concert, right? Well, instead of the normal $500 a night for a particular property, we got $850 a night for that same property, right? Because it was a hyper local event to bring in
Yeah.
more people, right? So, and
Mm.
that dynamic software, it does it for you.
Does it ever?
Now, it is not a set it and forget it tool. Just like anything,
Yeah.
there is some things I go in there a couple times a week and adjust and tweak,
Yeah.
but there are pricing tools. There's calendar tools. I have, everything's automated for me. So if I have a booking come in right now, my cleaners get an automatic notification on when that guest's checking in, when they
Mm.
check out, and how many people are going to be there. So they know how many towels to set out.
Mm.
They know when that guest is going to be there. I don't have to do that. And then when they're done cleaning it, they upload photos on that app, send it to me. I can look at all the pictures, make sure they did a good job, and move on to the next guest.
That's awesome.
I mean, there's tons and tons of automations in this business.
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, this has been an incredible episode. I've learned an insane amount, and I'm going to have some questions after. But any last pieces of advice, whether it's on short-term rentals or real estate investing or just entrepreneurship in general, that you'd like to share with the audience today?
A couple things. One, if you're gonna get into any kind of real estate investing, don't use the free data.
Hmm.
Pay for it, right?
Mhm.
And things like AirDNA or STR Insights might cost $100 or $200 or $300, but you are investing tens of thousands of dollars,
Mhm.
right, into this investment. Make sure you do your due diligence, run a pro forma, a good, better, best, and make sure you make a good buying decision. Don't just use your gut and think, oh, this is a good one. I like it. It's close to the beach. That's not always the best situation, right?
Yeah.
Make data-driven decisions, because this is potentially part of your retirement plan, right? I mean, my goal is to have 8 short-term rental properties that net me $40,000 a year each. Well, I can retire on that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's going to take me probably 5 to 7 years to get to that point,
Yeah.
but if I can make that kind of money on each property, then, I don't need to sell real estate my whole life and do all the other kind of stuff. So, just understand your numbers,
Yeah.
and then, if you are using a real estate agent in any market, in the short-term rentals or in investing, use one that invests themselves,
Yeah.
right? So don't just hire a real estate agent because they're an agent in the market. If they're not investing in real estate themselves, then they don't understand real estate investing as much as someone that does.
Yeah.
So use someone that knows what they're doing.
Oh, that's incredible information, incredible education here today, Joe. where can people stay connected with you, learn a little bit more about you, what you're doing, all that good stuff?
Find Facebook is the best way. Joe Rohne, Rohne is how you spell my last name. So reach out, send me a message, send me a DM. Or if you're interested in the coaching program, you can just go to thecohostcoach.com and you can find me on there and send me a direct message on there as well.
Awesome. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes. I know there's going to be people listening this episode interested, so we'll have it all there. Thanks again, Joe. I really appreciate your time.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
And thanks again to our amazing title sponsor, Go High Level. Without them, we aren't able to produce the quality of content or have amazing guests on like we did today with Joe. Check out a free and extended 30-day trial with tons of bonuses in the show notes. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're making a big push for reviews this year, and it definitely helps move the needle. Authority isn't built overnight. It's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.